I think they're looking for a party that's going to represent them, that's going to respect them.
For your own daughters to work in Parliament or to work in politics?
No, I'm sorry, I don't believe it's been resolved.
Women were a driving force behind last week's election result, according to some political observers.
The impact of Grace Thames and Brittany Higgins, they changed the narrative.
The advocacy of sexual assault survivors has put issues around how they're treated into the political spotlight. And over the last year, there's been two words we're hearing more often.
Police, prosecutors, everyone involved in the criminal justice system needs to be trauma-informed. They need specialist training.
We actually employ a trauma-informed psychologist who specialises in sexual assault counselling.
Prevention, recovery and trauma-informed plans, a wide-ranging program to end violence against women and children, has been released by the federal government.
Trauma-informed.
We just spent a lot of time learning about how trauma impacts the brain and your behaviour and what trauma-informed care actually looks like.
That's Ashleigh Rae Cooper, one of the survivors and advocates who worked on the Let Us Speak campaign. After her attacker was convicted in 2020, Cooper began studying trauma as part of a social work degree.
It made so much more sense. Oh my God, I picked up quite a bit of this knowledge over the years because I went looking for it because I was trying to understand what I was going through. But I really struggled to find information about trauma. Part of it is a gatekeeping issue. I think the medical profession keeps a lot of that on the down low, and there are very good reasons for that. But it also means that there's not lots out there for people seeking to understand what is happening for them.
It's definitely a new phrase for a lot of people, trauma-informed.
This is a very recent addition to the social work curriculum. It's a wonderful addition to the social work repertoire.
So can you tell us, what does that mean?
There are key principles of trauma-informed care. So it's engendering trust and safety. Safety is a very big thing.
Appropriate care also requires understanding of trauma's impact.
Understanding how the brain works when it goes into trauma, so the physiological aspect of it. When someone is triggered or experiencing trauma, you cannot talk to them rationally or logically because they are operating out of instinct, survival instinct.
That's something Cooper is personally familiar with, after she was told her attacker would be removed from the sex offenders registry.
I got a call from a special unit within Victoria Police. They wanted to ask for my input. I was so shocked that I hung up the phone and I threw it across the room and smashed it into a wall. And I screamed and shouted and had a big PTSD attack. That was not fun. Eventually I got back in touch with them and they had to re-explain it to me about 3 or 4 times because I couldn't process what they were trying to tell me.
In those cases, trauma-informed care means giving survivors control.
It's about how to help them re-engage with the logic part of their brain. That means that they can actually have a chat with you. They can take more control over what's going on with them.
Cooper feels she had little control during her court case.
I was acutely aware that at any point, a reporter could walk into the room, sit down and start taking notes. And I would have no control over that.
It's a concern illustrated by the Courier Mail's coverage of a disclosure by Queensland MP Melissa McMahon, who criticised the paper on Twitter.
You don't want to have a closed-off court trial necessarily because that's when things like corruption and bad behaviours and stuff can happen. But at the same time, you're dealing with sexual assault. That's incredibly personal. It's not trauma-informed. It's trauma amplifying.
So how can our system support survivors in a trauma-informed way?
Being very supportive, holding no judgment, having hope, and seeing them as a whole person, knowing that they can get through it. They just need a little bit of support to get through the moment.
If this video raised concerns for you, call 1-800-RESPECT or Lifeline on 13 11 14. In an emergency, always call 000.